Good afternoon. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law, and welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. We are excited. We have a fabulous show for you today. And before we get to our special guests, I wanted to mention that the Lady Gators gymnastic team is taking off. They are just fabulous. Last week, they beat Alabama in dramatic style, the first time a college program during the regular season had ever been on national TV. ABC covered it, and Meldon Law was there. We had a fan fest there and gave away some great swag to the young kids who were there with their moms and pops, and it was really an amazing, sold-out O-Dome. And for those of you that have not been to a Gator Gymnastics event, please do it, and do it soon. There's 3 more events coming up. And by the way, Meldon Law is going to be giving away tickets for the Arkansas meet coming up Friday, January 28th at 8:15 p.m. That's a Friday night, 8:15. And I predict it's going to be another sold-out crowd because the Gators are hot. They're undefeated. They're playing Georgia Friday, January 21st. And the SEC is loaded with talent. Also, Meldon Law is giving away free tickets for men's basketball. The Vandy game, January 22nd at 1 p.m., a great opportunity to take the family. And Oklahoma State is coming in the following week, January 29th, for another Saturday game at 4 p.m. So there's plenty of seats available for men's basketball. Go support our men's basketball team, and let's see if we can get them into the SEC championships at the end of the season. My guest today is Adrienne Fletcher, owner and head photographer at the Adrienne Fletcher Photography studio. Welcome, Adrienne. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is really fun.
Yes.
And also, go Gators, right?
I know, yeah. Now, have you ever been to a women's gymnastics?
I haven't. My nieces have gone, and I'm very jealous that they've gone to go before me. But I definitely watch the videos and, keep up with them. And yeah, that was really great that they that they won the last one.
Yeah, Alabama. So anyhow, remember, if you go to our Facebook page, Meldon Law,
okay,
you might be able to win either a set of 4 tickets or 2 tickets. Wouldn't that be cool if you could take your nieces?
Are you guys listening? Oh yeah, I would definitely be the best auntie in town for sure. They love gymnastics. They love it. They really do.
I mean, people were lined up an hour and a half before the meet. I mean, it was so incredible, the energy. So you've got a mission now.
Okay.
You've got to take your nieces to a Gator Gymnastics event. They are really cool. So you do a lot of commercial photography.
I do,
correct?
Yeah.
Could you tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about what does a commercial photographer do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I sort of separate out commercial photography from branding, and I think other photographers may lump it in together. For me, commercial photography will be if a client calls and they say, we have this exact ad in mind, we need one image of the person doing this, another like this. They already kind of have a sense of what's needed. They're just missing those visual elements. I categorize that as just a simple, basic commercial session. I go, bring the lighting, bring the gear, bring the people. Unlike branding photography, that's a little bit more when somebody says, hey, I need a whole set of images for something. And that's usually going to encompass a whole set of images. It might get you 3 months worth of social media. It might be for a website rebrand. And it's going to be, before we even talk about images, we're going to sit down and I'm going to ask you questions about your strategic plan. What is your core values? What are you trying to provide for your client? Who's your ideal client or customer? And so there's a lot more behind the scenes planning when I'm being approached for a branding session than just sort of a plain commercial session that just has, hey, we need XYZ, just come light it. We don't have the equipment to light it, get it done. And so I really like doing both. My background's in marketing, and so I can always provide pretty images, right? I understand light, I can bring the gear. If you want pretty images, I can give you images. But the difference is because I have a background in marketing, I would rather those images be purposeful and meaningful and provide value, hopefully to your bottom line, to your ROI. So we're going to make images that are impactful and then help you connect with that ideal client, not just be pretty.
So it sounds to me like you're trying to tell a story through photography.
Absolutely, yeah.
How do you go about learning about your clients and creating that story?
Well, there's a lot that goes into branding. And actually, I do this with a lot of types of headshots. I do a small version of this. But when I first talk to my clients, there's a lot of, I guess we should start with what is branding maybe? Because there's a lot that encompasses branding, and then that's how I would approach it. So
let's start with that.
Adrienne,
what is branding?
So some people sort of interchange the words brand and branding. And I think that there's quite a distinction because a brand is more of what others think you do and think you provide and think who you are. And you don't have a lot of say in that versus branding is everything that you do to try to influence that. So where a brand is a set of sort of expectations and maybe relationships and stories and feeling that somebody gets when they make a decision to choose one product or service over another. Branding is everything that can go into that. So you can imagine that's quite critical because if you think that you're providing XYZ service, but everybody feels like you provide ABC because you don't have good branding, like that's a lose-lose.
So there'd be a disconnect.
There'd be a huge disconnect, yeah.
So, let's use the example of Coca-Cola and Pepsi. That's probably, Coca-Cola may be the most well-branded product out there, right?
Yeah. And I think if you said both of those names to most people, they have a kind of a different feel and idea for each of those products. Now, yes, they may prefer one to the taste, but really, if you think Coca-Cola, you start thinking like the polar bear or the glass bottle, sort of some of those vintage commercials that they always bring back. And Pepsi just has such a different look and feel. So anything that you do that helps provide some sort of that helps determine what people think of you goes into branding. And it's important to get that right because it establishes credibility and loyalty, and it helps humanize your brand when you're really lined up. It's going to, honestly, at the end of the day, if you have really good branding, it's going to increase the net worth of the business. So if you ever decide to retire and you have a well-established brand, that's really helpful. But there's a lot that goes into it. You can't just wing it, right? And it starts, most people think branding and they're thinking, oh, the logo, maybe the font, the colors. But when's the last time you purchased a service or product because you thought the logo looked cool, right? There's so much more that goes into your decision making.
Although you do need to pay attention to details, so you want a top-notch logo.
Yes, you definitely do. I think some people make, as a business owner, you have 8,000 hats to worry about, and sometimes people get stuck on the logo and forget about but your core values and your ideal client and your story of why you're even doing what you're doing get lost. And those are just as important to make sure that, you're actually providing the service that you want. I think it's an easy, small thing that people are like, oh, they get niched into it. I have to get this right or nobody will buy my product. And it's like, well, there's a lot more to think about. And like you said, the details matter. So color choice and font do play into the tone that you're setting, but you can't forget about the whole reason, your whole mission to do what you're doing, and making sure that all of your messaging is lining up and all of your imaging is matching up and saying everything is cohesive. And that's what branding is.
Well, at Meldon Law, we like to talk about a unique value proposition.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I mean, some people call it unique sales proposition, but we call it a value proposition because we think it encompasses more than just selling. You're trying to let people know your product is unique, it has value, and that you are going to have a better experience with us than you will other people. So if you're Pepsi and you're trying to create a unique value proposition versus Coca-Cola, what are some of the things you do to figure out, what to do next?
Well, you're first going to see who your ideal, like what are your goals, right? What are your overall, like your mission, and your values and your goals. And then from your general strategic goals, what are your marketing goals and who's your ideal client and what do they want, and listen to that. And then you can start creating those things, right? Because you want to listen to, Donald Miller has a lot of books on sort of this topic, and kind of as you pointed out, you need to figure out the problem you're trying to solve for someone. They can go and get a soda wherever. Why do they need a Pepsi soda? What's going to be different about the Pepsi soda that they can't get from Coca-Cola or the RC Cola or the generic store cola? And so listening to, well, who exactly is my ideal customer? Is it the baby boomer that maybe has been used to seeing the logo everywhere and they're going to have a whole different lifestyle than if you're going for like the Gen Zs, right? So if you don't know that first question of who you're trying to provide for, you're never going to be able to get anywhere, because then you're just, spraying and praying is what I call it, right?
Well, also, you have a differentiated market. So in one type of either photograph or we can call it a commercial, you're going to appeal to one market segment. In another, you're going to appeal to a different market segment. So when you're doing a shoot, you need to be aware of all the different market segments, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So things that go into planning for these type of images are going to be all of the above, right? Like, what are your colors? Because if we're trying to plan cohesion in 90 images that are all different things, it could have people, it could be kind of a stock photography for your business. There needs to be some sort of cohesion, right? So it's going to be either underlying themes, or it's going to be or the color or the lighting, and so you can bring all these elements. So there's that visual part of it. But then it's, again, who are those ideal clients or customers? Well, if we can make a really good, I know in sort of marketing industry, they like to call it avatars, client avatar, but for lack of a better term, an ideal client, you might have various ones, but you need to know who they are, what they do, where they shop, what are some of their behaviors, so that when you're creating these images, even if you've got a set for, let's say, I have stay-at-home moms that I really like to target, and then young professionals between the ages of 35 and 45, and then maybe young grandmothers who are wanting to spoil their grandchildren. Well, they have 3 different kinds of habits and lives, but if I drill down to what resonates with them, then I can create these images and messaging that resonates with each time, instead of just doing a bunch of images that maybe will hit people in all of those things, right? And you kind of have no direction, and you hope one of them sticks with somebody and that they'll like your stuff.
Well, We are going to go to a short break, Adrienne,
Okay.
and we're very excited to talk about marketing. It's one of my passions, and I love having somebody who's as knowledgeable as you are on the show. We're going to be back in 60 seconds on Meldon Law and Friends.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends, and we have Adrienne Fletcher with us today, a great specialist in photography and in particular corporate work, both doing corporate photos and branding with companies. Remember, go to Meldon Law Facebook in order to get your tickets for, we got Gator Gymnastics January 28th against Arkansas, Friday night. Men's basketball the next, Saturday, January 22, Vandy. And we have Oklahoma State, January 29th at 4 p.m. And Meldon Law is giving away sets of 4 tickets and 2 tickets for all those events. So don't forget that. And Saturday mornings at 10:30 on the Sky, 97.3 FM. We are in our 20th year of Meldon Law Talk Live, so that's always a fun show. And stay in touch with us anytime on our Facebook page. There's always giveaways, and we want to share our hookup with the Florida Gators. We are the only official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators in the whole galaxy. So it's very exciting to have that position. So, Adrienne, we were talking about, what's going on in photography, and I know in the last, 10 to 15 years, social media has become a dominant part of it. It used to be, okay, you're going to do some TV or radio spots, and maybe some people wanted some print, and that was about it, right?
Yep.
And so let's talk about the changes that are occurring in the way that companies brand are, branded, how you assist them in creating the branding that they want to put out into the through the media.
Yeah. So one of the really big things that has just taken off is influencer marketing, which is this trend of companies using everyday people that happen to have large followings to promote their brands. And it's usually retail or consumer packaged goods, those kind of things. And it's been fascinating. It used to be that, you'd just use celebrities, right? And now you can use everyday people for that. And so I just find it really fascinating to see this trend evolve. And now there are whole platforms online that can connect businesses to influencers. So this is fascinating, but it brings up 2 sort of important things about some of the things that you can control on your side in terms of branding. And one is, again, humanizing your brand and having that very, the deeper connections with your ideal clients and customers, meaning now you can't just have an ad, right? there's got to be more besides your brand. People are used to seeing ads, they're used to spotting them, and they kind of flip through them very quickly. So now there's got to be more to it. And the way that I plan with clients when we're talking about branding is usually we need images to show who you are, what you provide, whether it's a product or service, and then images that how is your ideal client or customer, what does it look like them using your service or them using your product? They need to be able to see other people like them using it or doing it or having your services or things like that, so that they can be like, oh yeah, that looks like a good fit for me. So that's where I can come in and help and break down those sort of parts and making sure that you're not always talking about you, but more importantly, highlighting your ideal customer and like, how is their experience and how do we turn that? So in images, obviously influencer marketing is big, you can find, if you're in retail, find people to promote your products. However, if you're in a service or when you're working on the images that are going outbound, that's going to be thinking about, again, who's your ideal person? Let's make sure they're in the images. So when sometimes, especially small businesses, they're like, okay, we want to have a few images with a customer, customer interaction image. Fantastic. But then they bring their mom because their mom's retired and they are selling something for, I don't know, teeny boppers. And I'll say, this isn't going to work, guys. Like, we need teeny boppers in the shoot. And so you need to be able to sort of break down what's going to resonate. I mean, we've said this already, but what's going to resonate with your ideal client and making sure you're showing that in your images.
In our world as a law firm, one of the most important concepts that we always try to be aware of is trust. That if you become, a trusted brand within the market based on what you do and what you have done, then you're more likely to create that top of the mind awareness that's essential when people are making choices.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do with influencers is to create some kind of affinity between the influencer, who it winds up being a testimonial, right?
Yeah, and there's this interesting mix that you can do because trust looks different ways for different people, right? So yeah, there are certain types of people or ages of people where they're more likely to trust some people that they don't even know, but that they follow on Instagram or wherever, and they put a lot of trust in whatever they say. There are other types of people or generations of people where knowing someone, so like if their friend went to you, that establishes more trust to them than if they saw something online. They don't care about these things online, right? So you have to identify, again, like who's your ideal client or customer, what's important, and what does trust look like for them, and then use your marketing to respond accordingly. Because again, if all of your, and again, you have to kind of identify who's important, but if your ideal client is very much somebody who's going to be the word of mouth type of person, and all your advertising is on TikTok, they're never going to see you and you're never going to establish credibility with you. So we could do TikToks all day and that's never going to happen.
Well, Adrienne, it's very interesting because trust has changed in all industries. For example, in the legal industry, it was much more referrals from other lawyers to lawyers that specialized in one thing. However, now the majority of decision making is taking place without a client getting a referral from another lawyer. It's more using friends, social media. They may go on on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and communicate with people who may or may not have expertise as far as choosing, right?
That's right. That's so interesting. You're right. Every neighborhood now has a Facebook page and people ask their neighbors. But you bring up a good point of the change of what's important, and also what's in establishing trust. Another trend that I'm always fascinated with is how consumers have put a lot more importance onto businesses, especially big ones, on sort of their corporate social responsibility or their environmental impact in a way that just wasn't as significant before. And so now you have companies who say, whatever, buy our product and we donate shoes to something, or we'll plant a tree in your name. And somebody high up had to run the numbers of, like, for every free PDF download that we plant a tree for, let's say it costs us 50 cents to plant a tree, we might get one person out of 100 to book the bigger thing, and then that's worth it to us, right? So somebody's running the numbers and realizing that although we think of corporate responsibility sometimes as an expense, somebody's running numbers that are like, oh, actually, this is a marketing, it's like running an ad, except for it's actually doing good for society.
One of the things that I believe is that it has to be done authentically.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, because if it's an afterthought, oh, like we're doing this, oh, we're so good, people read through that now.
We're very proud of Meldon Law. We've been giving away scholar-athletes scholarships now for, we're in our 25th year, and we have given away over 600 scholarships throughout North Central Florida. And when we did it, we did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. And certainly, we followed it up with our Law Talk Live program and producing many consumer guides that we give away for free to people. So when I talk with our marketing department, I always try to emphasize, try to do things authentically rather than manipulate the market.
Well, and it comes back to, what is your purpose, right? And for example, as a photographer, when I'm often a problem solver, and the solution to the problem may not always be images or images with me, but if I can help a potential client or a current client solve whatever problem they have, whether or not they use me doesn't matter, because I'm still doing what's important to me, which is solving this problem for them. And so it's the same thing. Is if you're actually, and a side note, when I was in high school, I remember your scholarship. So I know it's been around for a while, because I will not date myself on graduation, but I do remember it. But so finding those things that are meaningful to you and provide meaning to the community, not as a way to necessarily boost the brand, but because you feel it's the right thing to do for your brand in a way that provides meaning. Those are the things that establish trust without feeling, I don't know, icky or forced or
okay.
Kind of
We are getting to the end of this section.
Yes. Oh, no.
Now, however, how do people reach Adrienne Fletcher Photography?
Probably the website's the easiest, and that's www.adriennefletcher.com, ADRIENNEFLETCHER.com.
So go to AdrienneFletcher.com.
Yeah.
And Adrienne will be glad to talk with you. She isn't going to charge you to get on the phone and
It's
see what
true.
your needs
I'll
are,
talk your ear
help
off.
you out. And she has a wealth of experience in helping businesses grow in the right way. And I think
thank you.
that's the most important thing to remember when you're hiring a professional to assist you. You want to make sure that you hire somebody that is in sync with what your goals and objectives are. So go to AdrienneFletcher.com, Adrienne Fletcher Photography. If you Google it, you'll probably get there. Yeah. And I want to thank you very much.
This is a
fascinating interview. I feel like we could go on for another 45 minutes at least. And we're going to take a short break right now, and then we'll be back on Meldon Law and Friends. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down. The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault.
No,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law, and we're very excited to have a great second guest on the show today, someone who I'm very partial to, Yolanda Means, who's one of the bright young attorneys who works at Meldon Law and is part of our team. Before we get to that, I just want to remind everybody, go to Meldon Law's Facebook page, just Meldon Law Facebook, and we have all these great ticket giveaways for the women's gymnastics, for the men's basketball team, and they're free sets of 4 tickets, 2 tickets, and actually for the women's gymnastic event coming up on January 28th, against Arkansas, we're giving away a set of 4 tickets and a $100 gift certificate to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where we are broadcasting from today, as always. Another set of 2 tickets with a $50 gift certificate. So score your tickets and get out here to this fabulous museum and restaurant. It really, if y'all haven't been out here, you need to get here. It's one of a kind. The food is all farm to table, and Freddie Wiebe, the managing partner here, will tell you where every piece of beef is from, which farm in our local area. I was here last week, and man, I had the lamb chop. What a great lamb chop! I found out it's only served at Michelin, top restaurants. Somehow Spurs was able to score the contract to get it shipped down here from Pennsylvania. Most of the stuff is local farms, so I always try to make sure that we tell our listeners and viewers all about what's going on here at Spurrier's. You'll have a great time. Our first guest, Adrienne Fletcher, talked about photography and marketing, and now we have our second guest, Yolanda Means, who's an attorney at Meldon Law. Welcome to the show, Yolanda.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Anyhow, when we interviewed Yolanda several months ago, the most fascinating thing I found out was that your family's been here in the Alachua County area for 6 generations.
Six
Is that
generations, yes.
Yeah.
My
Tell
family's
us a
been
little
around.
bit about that. What do you know about the history of your family?
Well, my great-great-great-grandfather, his name is Major Reddick. He was brought to Archer, Florida, and acquired some land. He was freed as a slave. I believe he was 9 years old. And in Archer, Florida, he grew up to become a reverend, and he conducted a lot of the marital ceremonies in the area, and he did that before his expiration. Additionally, my family acquired some land, and I believe it was donated to the church in Archer, Florida, and that is where they're preserving a cemetery that's been around since the 1800s, and they're still finding bodies. It's very interesting. It's actually on its way to become a historical site. We're working with the University of Florida to make that happen. So my family's been around for a very long time, so especially since the 1800s. And that cemetery holds a lot of history, and I believe he's buried there as well.
Now, are there still a lot of relatives of yours around the Alachua County area?
Yes. My family's all over now, but a lot of us still reside in Alachua County, most of them in Archer, some in Newberry, as well as Gainesville and the surrounding areas.
So that must be really exciting, having that much, history tied to what's going on in Alachua County. Do you have, when you get together for family reunions, do you ever, find out stories that you never heard before?
Yes, I do, but I'm very, very family oriented, so I know a lot of the family history. My grandfather was born in 1925, so I was able to preserve a lot of the information that that was passed down through him. And his mom, she was born in 1900, so I was actually alive for a few years while she was present. However, I believe she passed away in 1995. So my grandfather taught me a lot, and I was able to retain all of that information. My family also has a cemetery that we currently own in Archer, Florida. So I was able to go around, get the names of those individuals. That's been around for decades. So I know a lot of my family's history. So, and we still stick around.
That's great. Cemeteries, really are an incredible historical place. Sometimes when I'll go to a great city, I'll seek out a cemetery and walk around and look at the gravestones and see what's on them. There's some very old cemeteries in Gainesville. And I'm kind of a history buff, and when you look at what's written on the tombstones,
I know.
You find out all kind of information. And I've been around Gainesville now 52 years, so a lot of the folks that are past now, were old friends of mine, and whenever there's a historical piece, I really kind of enjoy it. So. You wound up becoming a lawyer. Tell us a little bit about your journey into law.
So my journey into law started when I was in the 9th grade. I attended the Criminal Justice Academy at Newberry High School. I grew up in Newberry for the most part of my life. I moved to Gainesville in 7th, 8th grade. But I returned to Newberry in 9th grade, and I was a member of the Criminal Justice Academy. I will be speaking at their open house February 3rd, so come out.
So let's promote it.
Let's promote it.
February 3rd, where is it at?
It's going to be at February 3rd at Newberry High School, and I believe it starts at 5 o'clock p.m. So I'll be there speaking again. I do it every year. But I started my criminal justice career there, and then I dual enrolled into Santa Fe College, and I started college essentially in 11th grade. And after graduating high school, I transitioned to the University of Central Florida in Orlando, and I majored in legal studies. After majoring in legal studies, I graduated. I took a year off because I had gone through school like straightforward
You
my entire
graduated
life.
really early, right?
I graduated at 19, I
Oh
believe,
my
19 or
God.
20.
I think I was
Graduated college.
I was focused in on partying at Ohio State back then. When I was 19. But you seem to be like you were driven.
I know. So a lot of my friends they graduated. I believe my graduation year was 2013, but I was set to graduate 2015, but I graduated 2 years early. So I started law school 1 year after graduating undergrad.
And
Yeah.
where'd you go to law school at?
I went to Florida Coastal School of Law in Jacksonville.
And did you commute or did you live over there?
I relocated to Jacksonville. I loved Jacksonville while I was there. At Coastal, I was able to gain meaningful experience. I was a member of the clinic, so I would do some legal work under the supervision of an attorney. And then my last year, I had completed my required courses, and I was able to transition to Georgia, and where I was at the DA's in DeKalb County. So, I mean, my last year of law school, I spent working.
Well, I'm very excited that you have a license to practice in Georgia because Meldon Law is opening a new office in Lake City, and a lot of folks from Valdosta and South Georgia actually, come down in that direction. And now we have a lawyer at Meldon Law who's licensed to practice in Georgia, right?
Yes,
And so
active too.
active. That's right.
Yes.
Keep it active because we're going to wind up helping the folks from South Georgia as well. So you wound up going into the public defender's office
Yes.
in Gainesville, Florida, for the 8th Judicial Circuit, which covers a very large area. Let's talk a little bit about what that experience
Sure.
was like.
So I work for Stacy Scott. I want to thank her for the opportunity. I learned a lot under her leadership. I was able to gain meaningful experience. So practicing in Georgia was a bit different than the way that we do things here. And it's different in different circuits and stuff like that. But here I was able to gain a great relationship with a lot of the attorneys in the area, judges, colleagues, other young attorneys, and we were able to make a strong impact. I learned a lot in that role. I think I tried maybe a dozen of cases, I believe, first and second chair. I've handled maybe about 1,200 or 1,300 cases. I think that's a lot. I've been practicing now for almost 5 years. I'm proud to say that. But in that role, I was able to form a solid foundation for my legal career, and for that, I'll forever be thankful for that opportunity. And I learned a lot, and I'm still learning. And the journey itself has just been so much fun. I've enjoyed practicing, representing individuals from all over, and I'm so looking forward to helping Meldon Law go to the next level.
I'm very proud of how Stacy Scott has professionalized our public defender's office here for years and years and years. I
Yes.
think the public defenders, they worked their butts off and worked really hard. However, when they opened up the new public defender office, Stacy really, first of all, I have to commend her because she's the one that pushed that through. And more
awesome.
than that, I think she professionalized the public defender's office so that it was, a very top-notch law firm.
Yes. I love to call it the law offices of Stacy A. Scott because it becomes more real. You'd be surprised, in that role you learn that people don't really recognize that it's an actual firm. It's just a firm that's volunteering to take on a lot more cases for a lower price. And there's a lot that comes with the territory, but there are so many hardworking and driven attorneys in that role, and you have no choice but to respect those individuals.
Yeah, and we at Meldon Law have always been really good friends with the Public Defender's Office. Stacy and I are personal friends as well as professional friends, and she runs the largest criminal defense law firm in the
Yes.
judicial circuit, and because of that, there's a lot of motions that are argued in front of judges.
Yes.
A lot of good decisions are made that she shares willingly with all of the lawyers. We have the local chapter of the Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and the Public Defender's Office should be very well respected. I think the quality of the work that they do stands head and shoulders above most of the other public defenders' offices in the state of Florida.
She is a trailblazer for sure. She goes so hard for everybody, other attorneys, a lot of our clients, witnesses. She really does push for change.
So,
Pushes for change.
I think that was really an excellent stepping stone as far as being able to transition into representing people in the what I call the private sector of criminal defense. So I know you're excited
Super
about
excited.
jumping in and having clients that you can actually work on their cases for 3 or 4 days at a time instead
Yes.
of having the challenge with the public defender's office is you have a lot more clients, and
Right.
it's a little different experience. And in the second part of our show today, I want you to let's talk about what it's like being a criminal defense attorney. What are some of your goals going into the private sector of the criminal defense, and that where you think you're going to be 5 years from now. Yolanda Means, famous attorney in the 8th Judicial Circuit and around the state of Florida. We're going to be back in 60 seconds on Meldon Law and Friends.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder of Meldon Law, and we're very proud to have Yolanda Means on our team now. Yolanda, you just started with Meldon Law the beginning of January, so I know you're excited to come into the office. What are some of your thoughts about how this is going to be different than what your experience was before?
I think that now I get the opportunity to explore different ranges, different types of cases. I'm really excited to help out with some personal injury cases because, of course, being in the public sector, I can't do anything that's civil and I'm limited, but I think that there's a lot of room for growth at Meldon, and I'm super excited to take on another challenge.
Yeah, I've always liked the combination of criminal defense and personal injury because you're dealing with real people whose lives have been turned upside down, whether it's an arrest or being in a serious crash. And what our job as attorneys and counselors is to try to not only get them good results, but try to help them along the way so that they don't, because they're freaking out when they come to us usually.
For sure. For sure. So I'm super excited, and I really love that we do a lot for the community. We're big on outreach, and we actually care about the citizens where I'm from. So I get to, well, the residents, because I won't say citizens, residents in our communities, and we get to get out there and use our platform to help everybody.
Yeah, I know at Meldon Law we're very proud that we do have a culture, a team culture within the office. You're just getting started, but you're going to see everybody in the office getting together for things like Fan Fest, where we welcome the kids and their parents to all kinds of sporting events. We get involved in the community activities. And by the way, if anybody out there is listening or watching and would like Meldon Law to help support their community activity, we take a great deal of pride in doing that. And it's our way of getting to know new people as well, and sharing our resources. Not only do we have, are we willing to donate our money to help organizations, a lot of times it's just getting our team members involved in what's going on in the community. We're on all the radio stations. We love promoting it on Law Talk Live. We're on KISS. We're on Magic. We're on Sky. We're on RUF, sports, and all the country stations. So what we want to do is encourage members of the community to look at Meldon Law as a resource to help you promote whatever good things that you're doing. So now that you are, showing up at the office and doing all of this stuff that's different, how do you get the word out to all the friends and family that you have around the community?
Well, social media is a huge tool. I did go public, I would say, with the information that I was joining Meldon. I believe I did it towards the latter of the year, so the very end of December, to let people know that, hey, this is what we have going on in 2022. And that was a marketing mode. I waited to announce it, although we had already, made it official. And now my family, of course, sharing it on social media. Every event, because I'm very active in the community myself, and now I have a lot more time to join other organizations and to become more active in those things that I care about. I was at the MLK March yesterday. I went to Citizens Field. I was able to get out, talk to individuals a lot. You'd be surprised at how many people are looking for representation for certain things. But I love that we're able to use our platform to help individuals. So we're not just out here talking about it or just announcing that we're the official partners of the Florida Gators. I believe that we actually do those things that we talk about. So we are action-oriented. Using my platform in this capacity has been the biggest blessing, and hopefully for everyone else, but for myself for sure.
Yeah, Meldon Law was a proud sponsor of the MLK event every year. We always try to make sure that we honor the the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. And I think at this time, more than any, it's important to remember some of the principles that he stood for. I'm very excited about having you reach out to members of the community and let them know we are here to help. And
Yes.
And what I want to tell our listeners and viewers is, even if you're not sure that you can afford to hire us, if you don't know how a personal injury case works or whatever, give us a call. That's one of the things that I
Yes.
tell everybody. We will get on the phone. A real lawyer will get on the phone
Yes.
and talk with you and talk about what your situation is, what we think we might be able to do as far as helping you, what the what the case is all about. Over the years, and I'm sure you've done that in other circumstances. Sometimes people who are not attorneys, the system is a mystery to them, and we help. I think one of our roles is to demystify what's going on.
For sure, for sure.
You know, I'm sure that when you talk with people, you know, they go, "Oh, you're a lawyer," and you know,
Let me pick your brain. Let me ask you something. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm in the grocery store.
yeah, and the fact is that even if we don't know the answer, we can steer you in the right direction.
Right.
Sometimes we have to go back and check things out. I had, you know, somebody call me, you know, today, and you know, they came by the office. Matter of fact, you know, an old friend, and just being able to sit down and talk with people.
Yeah.
One of the most important things that we can do is to help people get in the right direction.
Right. I love that. So a lot of the times, you know, they'll reach out and they're like, oh, can you help me with this? And I'm like, oh, we don't really do that, but I know someone who does. So that makes me feel good because I hate feeling, you know, oh, that was a useless phone call or that was pointless, but they'll always follow up with a text message or something and saying, thank you for listening to me or talking, although we couldn't get anywhere because, you know, X, Y, and Z, but you really did help me out just by listening. I mean, sometimes I'm on the phone 8 o'clock p.m., 10 o'clock p.m. because people are reaching out for help. But if we can't do anything to assist you directly, we definitely will get you in contact with someone who can help. So,
and one of the things that we really try to do is have top-notch team players at Meldon Law. I know you're just getting, you know, to meet some of the incredible team members.
And they don't back down. They don't back down.
Yeah, at Meldon, we won't back down.
We don't back down.
You know, you know, the folks that I mean, in the criminal department, it starts with, you know, Abby Knight, who started working with me in 1979, if you can believe that, you know, and Belinda. Belinda was trained by Abby, and Belinda's incredible.
She is. She's awesome.
And, you know, Sierra, she helps Belinda out, and then we have all these other team members. And I think that's one of the things that we like to think that we do differently. There, you know, there's different ways of practicing law. What we try to do is have a team approach rather than just have. There are some situations where, you know, a lawyer may not be able to staff up the way we do, and you can do it. It's just a lot more challenging.
It lightens the load for sure. I mean, before I, you know, came to the podcast, Belinda was helping me out on the way here. Sierra offered some help, but we really do have a huge legal team, and they all assist. You know, I may be the quarterback, I may have someone on the line. I don't know, but it makes your job and your life a lot easier. So
yeah,
and
having somebody
team.
Like Ian Pickens
Ian
as your
awesome.
partner doesn't hurt.
Ian is my co-counselor. That's my partner. I love Ian. He's so amazing.
You know, it's kind of
so
cool
amazing.
in our offices. I've been doing criminal defense, you know, for 50 years, and then my son Kerry, he's been doing it for 17 years, and then Ian, he's been doing it for 10 or 12 years, and what we try to do is kind of pass down, you know, the gavel or whatever it is, you know, from one to another.
Right.
So we're very excited that you're, you know, part of the team now,
Yes.
and that we look forward to delivering top-notch legal representation, whether it's a criminal defense, personal injury, and again. If there's any problem that folks have, we want to help them get in the right direction.
We're super easy to find. You look around, we're on the buses, we're on the commercials, we're on social media. I mean, you go to University of Florida games, we're there. Just reach out, and we have a great team who's willing to help. And this year we will be going to the very next level and taking it up a notch.
Well, thank you very much, Yolanda Means, for joining us at Meldon Law and Friends, and we'll be back next week for another episode. Thank you very much for listening and viewing.